You're betting against the 49ers as 12.5 point favorites on the road at Arizona, total 47.5, 48. What's your logic there, Mo?
Yeah, you see this number. It is down, actually. Already some money coming in on the Cardinals. Was 13.5 earlier in the week. And again, looking at this Niners injury report, I understand it and wonder if maybe considering the spot they're in, it could honestly maybe should be even a little lower. You have interior defenders Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, both missing practice. Dre Greenlaw, one of the best linebackers in the NFL probably, and Charvarius Ward, their best cornerback. I mean, they already lost Hufanga, their safety, right? Like at some point, I just figure this has to matter. And their run defense has already struggled as it is in some spots. Obviously, it doesn't matter that much when you go up 20 every game and teams end up having to pass. But this is already kind of a flat spot, I think, after, multiple critical wins that basically have them locked into one of the top seeds. Now facing a bad team on the road, one that's coming off its bye, a little bit similar to that Packers and Giants game. And a Cardinals offense here that is getting healthier as well. It was kind of an ugly scene the way they were playing against Pittsburgh, overly reliant on throwing over and over to Trey McBride. That's not going to work here. We know how good these 49ers linebackers are in coverage, but with a coaching staff that has done a good job this year, I think, and extra time to prepare, that's going to help. And having Hollywood Brown, I think, healthy is pretty big. I think he did play the last game, but he had like 3 targets, didn't have a catch, didn't make any kind of impact. So 2 more weeks to get healthy. I should be pretty good there for their passing game. And, obviously the scariest part of this 49ers defense, you don't want Nick Bosa and Chase Young to be dominating on the edge and just collapsing your pockets. But, even if that happens here, at least we have a mobile quarterback, Kyler Murray, who can escape pressure at times and make some plays. I think with these defenders out, the line is starting to reflect that. It's dropping. It's down to 11.5, I think, at DraftKings, I believe. Like I said, Niners on a big winning streak. I could see them a little bit flat here, and hopefully the Cardinals can keep pace here. Wasn't a lot I was excited about this week because, I did get some good numbers on some big underdogs early in the week that I'm not too sure about at this point, but I think the Cardinals are still playable here.
And you can find all of Mo's bets if you at least just want to check them out in our Discord channel, like I mentioned earlier. But yeah, I mean, outside of the injuries, just from a sell high and a true buy low standpoint with Arizona, you're selling San Francisco at the peak of its market rating. Not only is Brock Purdy right there in the MVP conversation, right behind Dak Prescott, or even tied with Prescott for the shortest odds at some books, but I mean, they're riding one of the longest win streaks in the NFL. They beat Jacksonville coming off their bye, I think in week 10 by 31, beat Tampa Bay by double digits, beat Philly on the road by 23, and then Seattle by double digits twice in this, 4 to 5 week span. So the look ahead to against Baltimore, like you mentioned, next Monday night, I would love for the Ravens to lose at the Jags so we can get better value on Baltimore potentially. I don't know if you're looking the other way to fade the Ravens like you have for much of the year, just like last week with the Rams, who we'll touch on it a bit. But I do think just kind of veering ahead to next week, Baltimore may present some value if they lose at Jacksonville. But back to this matchup, as you said too, Arizona coming off the bye. The one thing I am a little bit concerned about, just depending how the injury report shakes out for San Francisco, ever since they got Chase Young, top 10 in every single defensive category when you look at advanced metrics like EPA per play and success rate. So obviously, Young has elevated the play of the entire defensive line, if it wasn't already one of the best in the league. And also Jair Brown has really filled the void for Hufanga really well, who you mentioned got hurt, I think, before the Thanksgiving game against Seattle. So that's my only concern, just up against Arizona team that really wants to run the ball with Murray and James Conner like they did at Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago, maybe generate a couple fluky turnovers and grind clock and keep Purdy and the 49ers offense off the field. So I consider this at plus 14. Now that the market has already made a dent with these injuries, I'm probably going to stay away, but I definitely get the angle trying to sell San Francisco high ahead of a big game.
Yeah, fading the 49ers, never exciting. Tried it a couple times. It's painful. Has not worked out. I eventually stopped doing it and just started betting 49ers team total overs. That was working out pretty well. Probably should have came in again last week. Thankfully, I did not fire that one. I believe that one did come in under, but yeah, this team is obviously pretty scary. But, these are some of the spots where you do see these teams come in with 95% effort or whatever, and that 5% doesn't maybe sound like a lot to some people, but when margins are this close in pro football, that's actually pretty big.
For those of you who watch Beat the Closing Number frequently, if you remember, Mo faded the Ravens on the road at Arizona, got fortunate with not only a 2-point conversion attempt that initially failed, and then they called penalty on Baltimore, so Arizona got another crack at it, got the 2-point conversion, got the onside kick, and then made, like a 40, 50-yard field goal to wind up covering and losing by 7 on what was nearly a double-digit point spread. Wild stuff. I hope that doesn't happen to you, or at least I hope Arizona covers in a less dramatic fashion this time around, Mo.